Hello viewers and welcome to my new series of videos on guitar and bass fabrication. My name is Karl Sandoval, and in this series I will be introducing instructions on guitar and bass fabrication. I will begin my series with some guidelines on a very important step. This step is the designing template used in the introduction process of building your dream guitar or bass. This video will be number 1. But I've got a special note here. I do not claim that my instruction is the only fabrication process that works. Please take what information is of interest to you and run with it. There are many unique processes that builders use throughout the world, and with great and satisfying end results. There are some features of these videos that I do not claim designing rights, and they're basically just used as examples. All right, let's begin. I'll begin by discussing some basic fundamentals of guitar and bass design. First of all, supplies. Well, as you can see here, most of the templates have been drawn on either cardboard or poster paper or manila folder or just a variety of different mediums of what you can draw on. So I'll let that choice be yours. You might have something at home. You might go to the local office supply store and pick up, just whatever works for you and whatever you can afford. You're also going to need some pencils and maybe some colored pencils, pens or Sharpies or markers of any kind that best suits your style or what you'll be beginning with and learning to use. The choice is yours. So, bottom line, you just need a table to draw on, a chair to sit on, and it's very important that you utilize a good amount of seat time, which I call it, in designing and sitting down and creating innovative guitars of your choice. Now, leading to creation and creating and your imagination, we all can create and we all have an imagination. So the sky's the limit, and I think that's fantastic. You might be inspired by seeing an image of an object, or maybe you see a guitar that somebody's using on stage and it kind of spawns something different. Just to give you examples, you can take guitars that are already existing, set them down, trace them, and then start drawing lines that are different. Straight lines, curved lines, blunt certain points of the guitar, extend certain points of the guitar, etc., etc. Your imagination can really flow. And the more you stimulate your mind with ideas, looking at photos and looking at videos of people using certain guitars, checking out brochures, this will all work at helping you create something unique. So it's really something that's like self-propelled, and I'll tell you, man, if you're extremely interested in doing guitar design and building, you'll find ways to come up with something creative. Some people already have an education, a background of education that will help them utilize their efforts in designing and creating a guitar or bass. They've taken classes since they were young. Maybe they excelled in art classes in elementary school and through high school, and it continued on into college and had taken specialized classes. That's fine. That will just enhance your abilities and probably move you along a lot faster. This isn't something that you need to be highly trained with, because to instill creativity and imagination in someone, it's just kind of like there. I think it's built in. I only had I had some classes throughout high school in mechanical drafting, mechanical drawing, and we used like the old drafting tables with T-squares and triangles and number two pencil, and I learned some techniques there, but the creativity came in me expressing building things. I used to love to work with my hands. I would build go-karts and rebuild bicycles and kites and when I was a kid, and it just kind of excelled and carried on throughout my lifetime. So I think we all have a sense of creativity and imagination within our minds. If you could play guitar, which I believe most of you can, then that's being creative, and you can just extend that over into designing a guitar. You might be a guitar player, bass player, and think, well, guy, if I only had this part of the guitar changed, or this part of the bass, or I can get different tone if I move my pickups a little different and in positioning, and I mean, this is how it works. So just to give you an idea of how I went about it, I mean, the things that I'm telling you, I mean, this is what happened with me. It's actually just hands-on, attacking it, making mistakes, calling people, talking to people. I mean, I couldn't even begin to tell you how many phone calls I made, especially when I was studying electronics. I'm not only a guitar builder, I know old school vacuum tube electronics very well, so I used to bug the heck out of technicians. And back then, I don't remember having cell phones, and if there were, I didn't know how to use them, and I was like a stranger to that type of technology. But questions that you ask people will give you answers. Then you apply your knowledge, and if you make a mistake, fine, you move on, and the next time you may not make the mistake. You might have to go through 3 or 4 different trials before you get something accomplished, but nonetheless, it is possible. So what I'm going to do now is show you some templates here, and as you can see, we've got I use a variety of different papers. This is like a translucent paper that I use here. You can see through it, which is why I believe I used it. I mean, you can see that example right there. Very good paper to use. This happens to be a pickguard. Here's another example of a pickguard. This was designed, you can see the design, it probably went on maybe an Explorer or a V or something, some guitar that had a flat edge periphery. And this was made out of a manila folder that I opened up. And the 2 humbuckers went here, and this part extended in the middle between the 2 pickups. And this just went down into the body. The controls were probably over here, or maybe I put them here. I don't know the situation and how long I've had this, but this could be used as a right-handed pickguard. Flip it over. It is now a left-handed pickguard. Here's a half body shape here design that I created. And as you can see, some of you might look at it and say, well, wait a minute, that's half of a V, and he just added this little wing. Well, you're actually correct. If I flip this over now and put 2 and 2 on the right and the left side, you'll get a V shape. And all I did was like put an extension here of a little wing. If I drew a straight line like so, you can see that that's a V body. Flip it over, there it is. So, and this is actually, I glued on a manila folder with some yellow paper that I have, and as another example, that's pretty cool. That'll help you in that sense. And once again, being creative. I mean, this little extension here, I mean, what's its purpose? Well, I don't know. It's just more of a odd look to it. Now, not all the designs that you make are going to be really accepted. But when a rock and roller comes along and uses it, all of a sudden, man, you've got something that's really priceless. That seems to be how it works. Here's my infamous Sandoval.V. Part of it anyway, the headstock's cut off. But you can see the V design. It's all, I just traced it out with a pen. It's not very accurate, but it sure does give me the visual, actual size of the instrument to be made. Another example, and as you can see, this was probably some large bag. I cut it open, then I ended up with a big piece of paper. Now, I didn't really have that much money back in the day, and you know, you go to the stores and buy this stuff, and you know, before you know it, you've got a $50 to $100 list of products that you bought. So I used to cut uh, grocery bags. I've used cardboard, which we'll see. I've used manila folders, which I had a lot of, which I bought cheap. Okay. Anyway, here's a guitar. This one happens to be the Firebird shape, and I don't claim design rights on this. I'm just showing this as an example. As you can see, I taped manila folders together to get this size of paper that I needed, and also here for the neck. But what I did was what was unique is I put the angle down, reversed inverted harpoon headstock design on it, and it's kind of unique, kind of different. Somebody will like it, and I must have built this for somebody because all these templates were actually made for some process or some building that I did at one time. Okay, here's computer paper that I used, another medium, and as you can see, the computer paper was real stacked up, and it would just unfold like this as it went into the machine. So I just took 3 pieces, and there I have a long enough sheet of paper to draw on, is what you can see here. This is a Danelectro neck that I just wanted to trace out for means of checking the width and the width at the butt end, the width at the nut, you know, how the headstock was joined and what it looked like, and, you know, getting it on paper. And if you notice some of the features here, the way I drew was sort of the guidelines that I was taught when I was in mechanical drafting class in high school. But there's an example there. Here's a paper sack that was used. Open it up, cut it up, and I've got a Danelectro guitar on here. It's probably kind of faint to see, but here's the body. It goes like this. Here's the neck, and here's the headstock. But paper sack. You know, if you have the money to buy the medium that suits you, that's great. That's fantastic. By all means, do it. Here's cardboard. This is off of a cardboard box. This happens to be the V body with the wider shoulders, which I used to make back in the day. The shoulders that I have now are a little different, but there's always a center line that I utilize. This is very important, is to use a center line, which helps you set the neck. And it's a major guideline in getting the guitars proportioned correctly, so you don't have, you know, let's pretend this is the neck, and if you don't use a center line and you glue your neck on and it's at an angle like that, you know, as you can see, we're way off. So center guidelines are really important, and I use them throughout my fabrication and dealing with guitars. Now these are all templates, like I say, at one time that I potentially built or was about to build a guitar. This is a kind of a weird shape that was built on some paper here, probably a poster paper. Pretty dramatic as far as the down wing to a point, upper wing to a point, top shoulder to a point, bottom horn to a point. This is where the bridge goes once again, center line. The neck area is right here. But, you know, great example of what an original guitar could start off like. Is this for everybody? No. Am I claiming that, whoa, man, I'm going to revolutionize the guitar industry? Well, that just remains to be seen. You know, you build a guitar, put it out there, and it's kind of like you're taking a chance. You're gambling. You're, you know, hoping for the best. And as you keep working and designing and building and working and designing and building, and, you know, not necessarily in that order, but, you know, my point is, as you keep progressing with it and moving on, like a train, you know, a train starts off slow and starts going faster and faster and faster and faster. Finally, it reaches its destination. I mean, that's kind of like what happens with any kind of a trade that you get in, where you have to start at the bottom. I remember my first job in dealing with guitars was with Wayne Charvel back in the 70s, and my job was to put nylon strings on an acoustic guitar. Man, I was sweating bullets doing that, and as simple as it is, you know, I had to start somewhere, and look where I'm at now. I mean, it just will inevitably lead to some form of success. So here's another design of a guitar that I built for a girl. Turned out quite well. It was black, I believe. Drawn on a grocery bag. Here's a small mini bass guitar. I can see that it's got the P-bass type pickup set up here, and the bridge is way back here. A little short scale mini bass. Here's a guitar that I built for a guy. He actually, now I got to give this guy extreme credit because this is a drawing of the guitar, but it's put on a piece of grocery bag. But when I originally saw, the customer came in with his dad, young kid, he was in high school, and he had a little paper drawing done on regular notebook paper of this guitar. And he said, they want to know if I can build it. Of course I could build it. And I went through it, and the guitar was yellow, and it turned out really nice. The guitar player was really good. And, this is just one example of a design created by somebody's imagination. Curves, straight lines. Okay, it's proportioned kind of like an Explorer. Not really. But when I say Explorer, it's got the big wing here. It's got the wing down below, and it extends this way a little bit. But you cut in the backside with a curve here. You're creating something that's actually pretty unique. The guitar turned out really fine. I've got pictures of it somewhere, and maybe I'll present them one day. Here's another Flying V we've seen. That's done on yellow. This was probably yellow poster paper. Here's some roll paper that I drew on. This happens to be a drawing of my harpoon headstock for some reason. Drawing some other little types of guitar. This could have been like the beginning of a guitar that I built that I believe I called it the Hydra. Here's another design here on poster paper. This is showing a neck of some sort with a scarf joint. Scarf joints are actually pretty cool. I like them. I use them on occasion, but as you can see, when I draw, I have some sort of a mechanical drawing perspective in dimension layout and guidelines and so forth, and I write these little notes. I don't know if you can see that, the little notes in there, but the more information you have, the better for you. And that's a real important point. Here's a double neck tele. I didn't create the tele. I'm not claiming any rights to the design of a tele, but a double neck tele, I haven't seen too many of those, and this is one that I built for a cousin of mine, and it actually turned out pretty good. It was made out of solid ash with black graphics on it. It was a natural color, extremely heavy, so he brought it back to me, and we ended up channeling out, some back area and putting on a face pick guard there to cover it, and it lightened up the guitar. I don't really recommend doing it that way, but it was kind of like an afterthought. This is a design of a guitar that I built for myself. It's at home. It's a gold, basically a gold top type. I don't know, tally, whatever. Call it what you want here. I don't really have a name for it. I may have somewhere, but I'm not recalling what I used to call this. But it's a one of a kind. It's got the bottom horn. You have access here. I think I even opened this up a little more, but it extends down and it curves up, kind of like a Jaguar, I believe, or the Jaguar, I think was like that. So what I would do is I would channel out on the inside, and I would have a back channeled, and then I'd cap it with a 1/4-inch piece of whatever design wood you want, and then cut like a design here so you can see that it's semi-hollow. Very unique design. Very, very. If you tap the guitar, you can hear that it's hollow. Here's one guitar that I designed on paper, and it's kind of unique. I've made a few of these. They really